Wix Studio has officially arrived, and I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty stinking awesome. So in this video, we're gonna build out a complete landing page starting from the beginning and going all the way to the end. We're gonna start in our design tool of choice like Figma, move everything into Wix Studio. You're gonna learn the basics, an overview, and also some really advanced features. Get ready because we're about to build a website without any code at all. All right, here we are, wix.com/studio, where you can sign up, get into Wix Studio. Once you do, you will be directed into your dashboard, your area where you can manage all your sites. Here's a bunch of different sites I've been building and playing with, but we're gonna build a brand new site from scratch. So we're gonna hit up here and put start from a blank canvas. You could start from a template, you could use your own template, but we're gonna start from an absolute blank slate. And as we're doing that, we're gonna jump over to Figma, take a look at our project file for today. It is a cryptocurrency space themed landing page. It's got a basic navigation, a really fun header section that has planets and coins and stars. We'll probably animate those in a little bit and have some fun. We have a little 3-up card area with a center line layout and 2 flip-flopped kind of like 2-column layouts with text lockups and images. And we have kind of a basic footer happening down at the bottom. I've already taken the liberty of exporting all of the assets out of Figma that we need for this project. With that being said, let's jump back over to Wix Studio. All right, we have our workspace loaded up. Let's do a really quick tour. If you are brand new to Wix Studio, along the left-hand side, you have all the different tools we will be using throughout our project, being able to add, for instance, when you hit plus, add all of the different elements for websites here, as well as specific ones like containers and text and tools, all that good stuff, even some pre-built sections that we could then edit if we wanted to. We also have our layers panel, really similar to any design tool like Figma, where we can drill down and see what's inside each of our layers. We have pages where we currently only have one page. That's the home page we're building. And we do have access to things that are called global sections or components. Things like our global header that's already been installed for us, or our global footer that's been placed there. We also have things like our site styles, like typography, colors that we can change and kind of edit. Down below that, you have access to tons of amazing apps that you can use for your website. Use the CMS as well as edit, add, and customize back and front end code. In the very center of our workspace, obviously, we have our canvas. This is where we're going to be moving things around, building our website. But at the top, we have those breakpoints. Currently, we're in desktop. We can kick over and see what our site is going to look like in tablet. And we also have mobile setup. You can build your own breakpoints, customize them, and add more. But we're going to work with the ones that are here by default. We can also zoom in, zoom out, upgrade our plan. But we can also view, by hitting the little eyeball in the top right-hand corner, what the site looks like. And if we like it, we can publish it. If we want to go back and edit it, we can do that. Let's go ahead and click publish. And here we're going to type the word space. And now we get a sort of a custom domain that we can use for our staging server. If we upgrade, we can get a customized domain. But for now, this is going to work for us. It's going to go ahead and publish our site. And it's going to tell us so we can immediately go and view our very exciting, very blank and empty website. But the whole thing is responsive. It's already working. You can see that navigation works out of the box, which is super nice of Wix to give to us. And with that being said, let's go back and start doing a little bit of work. I am going to make a quick detour and go into my site styles, and I'm going to update these different styles that we have here. Now, if we want to be really spot on, we'd want to make sure that we grab the correct text, which is enter, and we're using the black weight there. So let's edit this typography. Let's see if we can find enter, which we sure can. We'll use enter black like that, and we will apply. Beautiful, like that. And we could do this for all of our typography. Let's just go with the ones we're using for now, which I think this would pretty much be our body copy. So we're going to do enter regular 16. Let's go to paragraph 1, and actually let's do paragraph 2 here. We'll do enter regular 16. Let's apply that. We are just upgrading the 2 type styles or font styles for now, but why don't we just get inside and add a headline here, a title, and we will just customize that by changing the color to white, so the whole thing kind of pops a little bit for us. Okay, all right, that's perfect. It's a heading 2. Let's make it a heading 1 so it's nice and big. Let's just revamp that color. Perfect. And we didn't actually check the type size. It was supposed to be 85, so we would want to go back there really quickly and just, if we wanted to, upgrade this to an 85 point type size, and boom, that immediately upgrades our H1 that we had here. So that's perfect. Why don't we stretch this out just a little bit? I'm going to come back in here and grab my text and just Command or Control C and Command or Control V in here just to paste it in here. Now I'm going to drag this out and I'm going to center align my text for the first thing. Okay, so I'm going to come in here to my inspector, my context panel, center align everything. And then what I'm going to do is you can see like these little lines up here on the right hand side. This is Wix Studio trying to do some native pinning, right? If we keep it up here to the left, as we start to, you know, change the size of our like browser, it's going to try to honor that and keep things pinned. We can actually right click on this and say align to the center, and then we can right click on it again and say align to, this time, the middle. That's going to put it right in the middle, and now everything always runs downhill inside of Wix Studio. That means at the largest breakpoint, unless you dictate those smaller breakpoints, it's going to try to honor that as much as possible. So you can see that it's responsibly resizing my text and it's pushing everything, but it's keeping that typography dead center for us. Now, we don't actually want it to be dead center. If we're looking at this as like an entire kind of like headline or a hero area, our headline is part of a greater, you know, area here, or a greater like, you know, lockup of text. So we're going to want to make sure we grab that text and add in our paragraph. So why don't we do that? I'm going to hit right here and go over to text, and this time I'm going to bring in a paragraph of text, and we're going to do, I believe it's that 16 point text. That's the one that we actually changed. So let's bring that text inside. It is our paragraph 2. That's the one we wanted. I'm just going to double click in there and paste our typography, or like the different font selections, buy, sell, grow your crypto, all that good stuff. And it was a certain color. So let's make sure we grab that color and head back and change the color here. Let's add it in just like so. Apply, and beautiful. You can see that like our colors are starting to stack up over here in our little color palette. What we want to do next is I just want to move this typography up. I'm holding shift so I keep things centered there. And I'm going to take my text and kind of center it with my headline. And I'm going to do a similar thing here. I'm going to center align it, and I might even stretch it out a little bit more. Let's see. It says we're ending on the word dedicated. We don't have to be that exact if we don't want to, but we absolutely could. So why don't we like try to match it up as much as possible. I love that helpful little little cursor, that little target that shows up tells me you're getting close to the center there. Now, the next thing I can do is I can add the button and just make sure that I'm using my new background color, this kind of like aqua color. So why don't we add our button in? Hit button like that. Let's go ahead and add that button. Beautiful. We'll change the background, and again, we're going to add another color into our working color palette. Pop that in, and just like that, we have our button. I'm going to drop it down here and line it up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of these elements. So my text, my button, and my awesome headline. I'm going to hit the stack feature. That's just going to lock everything together. And if you want to start manipulating your stack, you can see that we have item spacing here, and it's all mixed up right now, right? So why don't we jump back over and just kind of see these are in an auto layout. And let's see, the spacing between items is about, let's say 32. So I'm just going to make sure that I come in here and I'm going to interject 32, and that is 32%. We don't want that. We want 32 pixels. Let's try that again. 32 pixels. That's a little bit better. I'm going to right click. Actually, let's right click here on the stack, and then again, we're going to align to center and just make sure it's perfectly aligned there and aligned to the middle. So just use those alignment tools. They're going to be so much better than you eyeballing it. And so far, so good. Okay, why don't we come back here and fix our header up here. What I'm doing now is just styling our navigation for the site. And to do so, I need the logo. So I'm going to upload every single image that we exported out of Figma. So I have those in my media library. Then I'm pulling in the icon or the logo and just pushing it into place. I'm also going to build out the navigational elements by building new pages, actually creating those new pages inside of Wix Studio, and then basically just assigning those pages to the menu, which is really, really easy to do inside of Wix Studio. And then lastly, I'm just going to create a couple of buttons and drop those at the top right-hand corner so that there are primary and secondary call to actions for our website. Okay, now comes the time where we're going to start adding in some of our fun elements here. And all of these are really going to be considered either background images, or we want them to be loose individual images. I'm talking about all of our coins and our stars, all that fun stuff, because as we start to place those in, we can animate them all individually. So why don't we start doing that right now? I'm going to grab my plus button here. I'm going to jump over to media. I could actually jump down to decorative if I wanted to, but I'm going to do media. I'm going to go to my uploads and show me more. And why don't we start with our gradient? Okay. So I'm actually going to grab our gradients, our coins. Let's see if we can add all of these at the same time. Coins. And we have our planets as well. And we have our planet rings. And we have a bunch of stars. And let's add those to the page. It's bringing all of them in. That way I don't have to do this process individually. I just want to slap all of them on the page. And then what's really cool is now, as soon as it's done loading everything, I just get to drag these around, pin them where I want them to be, and it's going to work out perfectly. Okay. So it looks like all of them have been brought onto the page. And I'm going to go back up to my layers here. And let's close my header, open up my section. And sure enough, we have all of those different elements, those image elements. I'm going to drag my stack and my text above it because I'm always going to want that to be the focal point. And I think I'm going to stretch out the size of this and give it a little bit more space. So I'm just going to grab my entire section right here and grab those handles and just drag them down and increase the size of my section. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to align back to the middle. And again, align back to the center. Just make sure everything is staying perfectly spaced out. All right, now let's look at where some of these things belong. I got green with the orange planet over here. So I'm going to grab that green gradient and I'm going to bring it up over here on the left-hand side. And that means our purple gradient was kind of over here. And it's actually kind of leading off canvas to the right-hand side. And we have our purple planet that's going to go on top of it somewhere around there. And we know that our orange planet went somewhere around here. And as I was looking at it, I also saw this gold coin up here. And we can just kind of start spacing these around and putting them wherever we want them to, really. I think the next step for me is I want to animate some of these elements as they come in. So I'm going to grab my planet and I'm going to jump over to my interactions over here in my inspector panel. And I have a couple of really easy options. The number one is just going to be entrance. So why don't we hit entrance and get some really nice little elements here. So I'm going to do glide, and you can see that it's sure enough, it's going to glide in. Let's try it. I can click on it and do a different one. Yeah, maybe float looks a little bit nicer. We could just try a couple of these out if we want. Expand, flip, arc. I think that's a little too much. Glide seems a little too much too. I like this opacity increase and the float. And if we want to adjust that, we can go down to the adjust animation and we can give it like a little bit of a delay and change the duration. You can also change the direction in which it's going to be floating from. So I like it floating from, actually maybe we want it to float from the right. That could be pretty cool. When we press preview on that, boom, on entrance, it's going to float in. And so with a mixture of timing and delay and the different elements, we're going to go through right now in fast forward, and we are just going to animate all the different elements in this hero section. So you can see now I'm just adding these entry or on-page load animations to each one of our elements, changing the timing, the delay, so everything doesn't come in all at the same time, but instead everything just has a little bit of nuance and variation in between them. And then after that, I'm actually going to go into a different type of animation, which are looping animations. And this is going to make the planets kind of bounce up and down. It's going to make the coins rotate clockwise, counterclockwise, and even have some small little animations for our stars to bring the whole effect together. We also now have these cards. So why don't we go ahead and set up our cards by coming in and let's see, I'm just going to zoom down. I'm going to hit this little plus mark to add a new section. So with the section now created, I like to name these sections. Like this section up top should be named our hero section. And if you want to do custom code, that's also probably how we're going to address that custom code later on. So with the section now basically like selected, I'm going to go back to my design mode and I'm going to bring the color of it down so that it's transparent. We're just going to the background color of the page. I don't need it to have its own. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I might actually just grab the size of my hero up here and stretch it down just a little bit more. And that might change some of those animations, but that's okay. That works for me. So I'm going to grab my new section and I'm going to add a really particular, I could, if I wanted to, actually add a really particular type of quick add asset, and that's going to be a repeater. A repeater is going to be basically what I do in one of them is going to duplicate to the rest of them. And you can see I have a couple of options here like cards, lists, slider, grid cells. The cards work out well for us. So why don't we grab each of the cards here and we will assess what that background color is. I'm going to grab that background color and why don't we add this new color into our color options just like that and apply. And you can see how it applied not just to one card but to all of them because it is repeating. Okay, so pretty cool. Why don't we actually take our corners, and I'm guessing that they're probably, yeah, something like 24. It says 25, but that's a weird number. So why don't we go more with 24 and keep things nice and even. And we got a decent amount of space in between them. So something like 20 pixels in between them. For that, I'm going to open up my layers and make sure I'm grabbing the repeater. That's where I actually get to control you know, my elements there. And so like horizontal space, let's bump it up to something like 20. And you can see it increase the gaps in between there. Okay, pretty cool. The powerful thing about repeaters inside of Wix Studio is that anything that you apply to one of these cards or elements, it's going to be applied to everything. And so it's basically creating a template. And so in this template, I'm adding in the headline and the imagery and the body copy. I'm stacking them together. I'm spacing them out. And when I do that, it applies everywhere, which saves me tons of time. We got a really similar thing going on with this section as we did above. So that, I feel like that one's going to be fairly easy. So why don't we call this, I'm going to close all of our things up and I'll rename this our cards section. And then I will actually do a new section down below. And you guessed it, I'm going to take the color down because we don't need it. And I'm going to grab or borrow my stack from above and bring it in here and paste it inside. And this time it's going to be our H2. And our H2 is going to go there with our white, just like so. And we'll just copy our text there and make sure we are actually saying the right thing. Beautiful. That looks done. Done and done right there. And if we wanted to, we could pop in that background image. So why don't we do that? That could be kind of fun. We're going to hit plus and jump over to media. Let's get a single image and we'll just jump in here and we'll find it. Which one is that? It is our looper element there. So why don't we add that to the page? And I'm just going to drag this over to the side and just kind of do it like an off canvas kind of bit and make it a little bit bigger. Pretty cool. Why don't we press preview and just check it out? It looks like it's working in there. So let's go back to edit. And I'm just going to go to my layers and make sure that my stack, my text, is on top of that image. And the last thing we're going to do, we'll probably skip the footer because that's kind of boring. But why don't we build this 2-column section that's going on here? I'm going to hit add a new section. And then why don't I actually go look at our templates and look at those pre-built sections and see if I can find something kind of similar to just dump right in. This looks like exactly what we're going for. So I'm actually going to grab that and pop that in and go back to my layers and select the section. Let's bring this color down. And instead of having this image that's kind of leading off the page, we're going to fix all of that. But first, why don't we choose white for all of this text? And our other text is this kind of like light violet color. So why don't we make sure we're using that? That may not be the right color. There it is right there. And we want to just duplicate this button because this is the consistent button that we have been using all the way down. So just grabbing this start now button, we're going to get rid of it. And we can move this button and line it up on the side. Very cool. I think we're mixing up where these sections go, but that is okay. We'll go flip-flop this way instead. All I'm doing now is adding the correct images, placing them where I want, and what's really great is that anything that I duplicated from somewhere else on the site, it's going to copy and bring with it the built-in animations that have been established. All right, we're going to load up our site. You can see we have those really cool animations that are happening. Our buttons are all working up here, which looks really nice, and we have the looping animations that are taking place as well. As we scroll down, we get our cards. It's going to sample and borrow the animations from the header, that hero section, because it just has those kind of like ingrained, baked right into them. And you can see that same thing happening with our planet. So I definitely want to go in and probably change the entrance to that so it doesn't fade in from the side and look like it's getting cut off, or we're getting those same animations. So I just need to be a little bit more thoughtful about how I place my elements and maybe, you know, change those up. But for the most part, my site is looking pretty dead on, pretty good. Well, that's it. That's building a landing page inside of the new Wix Studio. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you know when more no-code tutorials like this one come out. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those down in the comments and check the description for a link to Wix Studio if you want to try it out for yourself. Hope you're having an amazing week. Hope you're designing amazing things, making amazing things, and working smarter, not harder, using no-code tools. See you in the next one.